Badlands, running to Badlands, explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Badlands Book Club, covering Ralph Pizzulo's Stolen Elections, the Takedown of Democracies Worldwide. Democracy.
How the CIA beat the CIA to save democracy.
How the CIA beat the rogue CIA. They're all rogues.
How the super duper good guy CIA beat the super duper bad guy CIA to save democracy.
The super good CIA. Tonight we are on chapter 4, and we might get to chapter 5. I don't know. I don't think so. I'm not 100% sure.
Did you see the private chat? Because I gave you misinformation before.
Oh. Oh man. Okay, that's still irrelevant. Guys, I do want to tell you, some of you guys may have seen this in or heard it on Badlands Daily or whatever, but we have a very special guest that is going to join us for the remainder of this book because it is right up her alley. So welcome to Badlands Book Club for her first time and our first guest, Colonel Towner Watkins. Colonel, how you doing?
Yay.
CIA.
Yeah. He's a good guy or bad guy?
You know, I'd have to make an appearance.
You know, to be honest with you, Ash and I kind of shit the bed by not having you on right off the rip.
Yeah, we should have.
Especially on this one.
Yeah. It's so I can give you a rundown so far, Colonel, and that is that Smartmatic is run by the CIA, but not the CIA. It's only run by 3 guys that are being run by the CIA. And the only bad people in this entire story are the rogue CIA and the Venezuelans. Everybody else is good. The good CIA.
The good CIA, yeah.
It's
I'd like to meet the good ones. And it's not anybody that's involved in the writing of this book.
maybe it's the good ones that we never ever hear about because they're doing the good work. I don't know. I could be an optimist.
They don't survive.
That too. That they don't get promoted. They get washed out after 5 years.
Correct.
All right. So before we get into the book, and we want to make sure we get through it, let's go ahead and talk about our sponsors for tonight's show. And first up, we have got Silent. Empower your right to disconnect with Silent Faraday cage bags if you want to keep the CIA out of your phone. In a world where tech never sleeps, our mission is to keep you safe, private, and healthy. Our patented technology shields your device from hacking, tracking, and EMF radiation, giving you autonomy over your digital life. Disconnecting sparks creativity, strengthens relationships, and brings peace of mind. With Silent, you get effortless gear built with integrity, always staying one step ahead to protect your data and your security. Choose Silent and reclaim your freedom to disconnect. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/Faraday and use promo code Badlands to snag your 10% discount. That's badlandsmedia.tv/Faraday, promo code Badlands. All right. And then Ash.
Can the CIA get through Faraday bag?
Probably. I don't know. I doubt it.
Well, it's possible they can.
And Ash is going to talk a little bit about Badlands Shop.
When your favorite Badlands show wraps up when your favorite Badlands show wraps up, head straight to the Badlands Shop to discover our handpicked sponsors and exclusive deals. From premium USA-made health supplements and grass-fed meats to patriotic apparel, secure tech gear, and veteran-owned coffee, we've got everything to fuel your America First lifestyle. Whether it's products spotlighted on air or essentials to your daily grind, the Badlands Shop makes it simple to shop smart and support the cause. Every dollar you spend is a bold statement for freedom, backing patriot entrepreneurship, family-run businesses, and creators who champion our shared values. You're not just grabbing great gear, you're powering the movement that keeps Badlands Media strong. Thanks for choosing businesses that stand with Badlands. Your support keeps the truth rolling. Dive in now at badlandsmedia.tv/shop or click shop from the main menu at badlandsmedia.tv.
All right. And then you know what? Let's go ahead and talk about soft disclosure.
Before skincare went synthetic, people used something simple, something real, tallow. Grass-fed and finished beef tallow is packed with vitamins A, D, E, and K. Nutrients your skin actually knows what to do with. It locks in moisture, restores elasticity, and defends against winter dryness. No water, no preservatives, and no BS. Unlike plant oils or chemical creams, tallow mimics your skin's own structure. Elbows, hands, knees, post-shave, anywhere your skin's crying for real moisture. Perfect for gifting or keeping your own skin soft when the cold hits. Visit softdisclosure.com and use promo code Badlands for 15% off. Ancient Care, modern truth.
Soft disclosure.
And you have less than 48 hours to get 15% off at softdisclosure.com using promo code Badlands. It ends at midnight tomorrow night. So head over. And the lotion, guys, lotion's amazing. It has, I learned about this lotion is that it has 0 water in it. And so, yep. And so, you know how like when lotion, when you have it for a while, it starts to get that kind of weird moldy smell? That's because of the water that's in it. And this lotion has no water in it. And when you buy this lotion, you are supporting a bunch of little adorable baby goats, as well as the alpacas and Annie and Badlands Media, at least 5 American small businesses. Force multiply your dollars, you put your money where your morals are. So head over to softdisclosure.com, use promo code Badlands.
I put some on so I can turn the pages.
Nice.
See, when I do it, I just I go all the way down to the face or to the beard and everything. I just do the whole thing.
Now your beard is extra soft because you have the beard oil in there too.
I do. All right, here we go. We are about to dive into chapter 4, Frank Holder. And you know what? I would be remiss if I didn't ask Colonel before we got going. Are you familiar with Frank Holder?
I have heard his name just when I was researching who this author was. His name came up in relationship to that. I'm not real in depth on who he is. I do know that he had affiliations with the Air Force. That kind of piqued my interest.
It's up your alley?
Yes.
So you were not aware that he's a triple Mormon agent?
He's a triple agent.
A Mormon triple agent.
I was not aware of that.
Why you gotta jump in and ruin the whole story before we even get there?
The
yet?
Mormon is on the first line.
I know, but the triple agent. Oh, was that?
Well, now you're Streisand affecting it. Just let it go, buddy.
Was that chapter?
So so let's talk about Frank Holder. He's a Mormon, born and raised in Arizona. We have to stop there because when it comes to our elections, the Mormons in Arizona play a significant role. Right? Run back.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yep. Here in so we have, and you can say, oh well, just because the guy that owns the company is Mormon doesn't mean it's a Mormon company. Okay. Here in Colorado, the city councilman of Colorado Springs at large, who was also the former Secretary of State that mandated Dominion, who is also the guy that was brought in after they ousted Tina Peters to kind of manage that office, who is also a senior advisor to Runback Voting Services, Election Services, was, prior to entering public service at all, full-time Mormon missionary.
And interestingly enough, the Mormon church comes up repeatedly in Operation Gladio as a front, as does the Catholic Church, the Catholic Charities, as does the Lutherans. What you find out is so many, unfortunately, of the mission-focused churches are dual-hatted as CIA fronts.
Yep.
So the next thing we learn about him here, and by the way, I do want to throw this out there, is Colonel literally got this book like an hour and a half before we went live and crammed through it. So, I know Colonel for next week, she'll be like reading through the chapter and she'll be like, let me dig on this person and let me dig on this person. So clearly she wasn't going to have time for that. So we're not, expecting like an in-depth, but next week we better get it. Like every name, I want 5 paragraphs. No, I'm just kidding. So the next thing we learn is he was admitted to the U.S.
It's fine.
Oh, geez. We learned he was admitted to the U.S. Air Force Academy, but did not graduate and went into the Air Force. It looks like as a political military analyst at the U.S. Embassy and in Argentina. So it sounds like he was pulled out for some super secret spy shit. You don't flunk out of the academy drop out of the academy, go in enlisted or whatever the case might be. I don't know. Maybe.
Well, an enlisted person cannot be a military
Analyst.
political analyst. I mean, that does sound like I'll just say this. Most of the what they call Paul Mill analysts are officers. It is possible that he was there as an enlisted person. That would be highly unusual, especially at an embassy, especially at in Argentina in the 1990s.
What exactly? Oh, good.
Well, because Argentina played a big role in the whole Operation Gladio infrastructure. That's where they parked all the Nazis to farm them out to Latin America. I mean, it's like a conduit into Latin American affairs, especially in the 90s. All of that stuff was still running very strong.
So the Nazis down in Argentina, Operation Paperclip was just the ones that came here, right? That was...
Well, Paperclip is kind of I think it's like a red herring. It's what everybody focuses on. It was the scientists that came to the United States. But what most people don't know is that the Nazi rat lines went all over the world. They went to Japan, they went to Korea, a lot of them went to Latin America. And when you talk about Gladio and the CIA, it was the relationship with the Vatican, because all of these countries in Latin America are Catholic. Mm-hmm. All of them. And the close relationship of the archbishops that were down there. I mean, the current guy came from Latin America. The hiding out of the Nazis, a lot of them left Spain and were transported, some of them in Catholic robes, out of the Catholic Church. So all of this plays a big role in so I find it very interesting that the guy lands in Argentina out of the academy without graduating. Very unusual.
As a political military analyst.
Yes, very unusual.
If he was an officer, he would have had to go to college somewhere.
Yes.
Right? So, I mean, he had to have gone to college somewhere. I don't know. It says in the 90s, he was recruited as a Cuban spy. Then it goes on to talk about Victor Manuel Roca, who was the deputy chief of mission at Buenos Aires. Roca was various diplomatic posts in Mexico, including Honduras, Dominican Republic, and Cuba. And he was appointed by Clinton to be the U.S. ambassador to Bolivia in 2000. Now, isn't that where Bernstein was the chief of station?
So let's talk about this. This is very interesting. Number one, Harvard, the place where all the George Washington University, Harvard, Yale,
Georgetown, Yale,
you know, those are all the CIA hotbeds of recruitment. So the State Department officer who was in Mexico, Honduras, Dominican Republic, and Cuba. All right, so let's start with Mexican, Honduras, and Dominican Republic, all hotspots for drug trafficking, all hotspots for CIA operation. Honduras was one of the most used CIA stations for setting up all of the drug cartels. Dominican Republic was overthrown by the CIA and has been a CIA vassal ever since. It's used for all of the drug trafficking staging. Obviously, Mexico is. So this Victor Manuel Roca, without me even looking him up, is hot and heavy involved. And understand that there's no difference between the State Department and the CIA. They intermingle each other all the time.
Yeah, of course. That's the cover, is the State Department.
Yes.
Yes, Brian, to answer your question, Bernstein was assigned to CIA Counterterrorism Center, where he led the Hezbollah Working Group, an ops group of 30 officers combating Lebanese Shia terrorist group. In that position, he had responsibility over the investigations of Hezbollah bombing of the Khobar Towers in Saudi Arabia in 96 and the 1990 Israeli embassy in Argentina, Israeli Mutual Association bombings in Buenos Aires, as well as the litany of attacks worldwide. His last 2 years of his career in the CIA were spent as chief of station in La Paz, Bolivia.
What years were that?
At the time, 2003 to 2005, Bolivia was a scene of a vicious political struggle between the supporters of the democratic government and a Cuban-backed socialist movement led by trade union leader Evo Morales.
Okay,
so they might not have. Just real quick, they might not have met there because Clinton appointed Roca in 2000, and I don't know if he would have carried over to George Bush. Maybe.
Yeah, just the tie into Argentina when he went from the Saudi Arabia bombing into Argentina. The Israeli embassy in Argentina was 1990.
And that's how they cover up everything, by the way. They use the same people.
Yeah.
Khobar Towers.
Small group to manage.
Roca was not the ambassador in 2004 and 5. This is really interesting. So
Deputy chief of mission is a CIA role as well.
So look at this question that I just asked my computer. I said, who was U.S. ambassador to Bolivia in 03, 04, 05? The response is the U.S. ambassador to Bolivia from 2000 to 2002 was Manuel Roca. He was not the ambassador in 03, 04, 05. Is my computer listening to me? Because I never said Roca up here. I never said anything about Manuel Roca, and it gives me it was not Manuel Roca.
So who was it in 04, 05?
It doesn't say.
So also, let me just mention, since we're talking about Bolivia, Bolivia is one of the three, and you just mentioned Evo Morales. The way that you just read what you just read about Evo Morales again.
Okay. Sorry, I gotta go back.
Ashe, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, give me just one. I got it. Just give me one sec.
Okay. Bolivia is one of the three countries that make up the Crystal Triangle: Peru, Bolivia, and Colombia.
Okay. His last 2 years of his career in the CIA were spent as chief of station in La Paz, Bolivia, the country where Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid were killed, where Che Guevara would meet his inglorious end. At that time, 2003 to 2005, Bolivia was the scene of a vicious political struggle between the supporters of a democratic government and a Cuban-backed socialist movement led by trade union leader Evo Morales. Demonstrations, rioting, kidnappings, bombings, and hostage-taking were the order of the day.
So Evo Morales was not backed by Cuba. That's a bold-faced lie. Evo Morales won his election because he decided that he was not going to play in the CIA drug trafficking anymore. He was not going to outlaw the production of the coca plant to make cocaine. He was going to return Bolivia to its original constitutional state and legalize the production of coca plant for its traditional medicinal use and teas for export. He refused to play in the CIA's Crystal Triangle and got dubbed a Cuba propped up government when he was the legitimate government. The one that they wanted to install was not the Democrat government, and they have hated Evo Morales ever since, because he refused to play in their Crystal Triangle games.
Okay. So back to the book here.
The tale is old as time, isn't it?
On
That's how
December
so many
1st
of our villains were born. Sorry, go ahead.
On December 1st of last year, Roca was arrested in Miami and charged with acting as an illegal agent of the Cuban government. It says that he boasted about spying for Cuba for over 40 years, and they caught him doing this I guess as an undercover agent, because that's what CIA does, is brag to people about being a spy for 40 years with Cuba. That's Roca and Holder certainly crossed paths and had much in common. Following Holder's assignment in Argentina, he returned to the United States and founded a consulting company called Holder International. And it describes itself as for over 25 years, Frank Holder has directed corporate investigations, including large-scale internal fraud and public corruption investigations and security consulting assignments in Latin America and the United States. Holder's excellent ability for strategic insight and advanced level professionalism make him highly sought after by his clients. Outside of his work in security consulting, Dr. Holder is also a frequently published author of books and articles dealing with his areas of expertise, including business and integrity, narcotic trafficking, and operational risk.
So this reads as a CIA operative. just in case anybody's wondering. When it talks about the consulting that he does on behalf of corporations in Latin America, that means that he's one of the guys that goes down and does risk assessments for companies that want to do business in that area. He's one of the ones.
Economic hitman. He's an economic hitman. Economic hitman.
Yes.
Yeah, what blew my mind about this chapter is the level of control over due diligence. Like all of the due diligence happening in Latin America for any deal activity, anything, in that space, it goes through one of his he's tied to, one of the three entities he's tied to. So all well, we know it's, a legitimate deal because it's being done by Frank Holder and he's the authority on all the ethical and moral things is what we're being told. Brian, ambassador to Bolivia from 2003 to 2005 was David Greenlee. Yeah,
David Greenlee. I had it up on the stage or up on the screen. Ash, I'm going to let you take over because I did not reread chapter 3 or 4. So I have my notes, and if you skip over something, I will jump in.
Yeah, so I had you talked about did you read that whole paragraph or just the first sentence?
Yeah, I just read the whole thing.
So I had that, and then during most of his time, according to the whistleblowers, I think we're talking about Holder, was working for the Cubans and Venezuelans. On top of that, he was an asset of the CIA. In other words, he was a double agent. So that's foreshadowing.
So what I find interesting about this is they kind of say that as an afterthought. He's working for the CIA.
Mm-hmm.
But let me just dirty him up a little bit by adding Cuba.
Hang on a second, because yes, he's working for the CIA. The premise of this book is that makes him a good guy.
Right.
But he's a double agent because he's also working for the Cubans and Venezuelans.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, good guy CIA.
So Martin was investigating Holder when he was with the DEA, when Martin was with the DEA, Martin, for his involvement in money laundering and drug trafficking. And that is when the CIA came in and shut that down and said, we are running Frank Holder as a source, which made him a triple agent.
Yes. So I think we should read this whole excerpt.
Go for it.
So whistleblower, former CIA operations officer Gary Burnson heard this story about Holder when he was still working for the CIA. So, Holder's advocate, this story is secondhand to at least secondhand to Bernstein, who's recounting it to Pizzullo, who's recounting it to us. So we are about to hear a fifth-hand anecdote.
That's crazy that he would even bother to put this in this book.
We literally had a source in Havana in like the 2004-2005 period. And one day this source was having lunch with Abelardo Colome Ibarra, who was the Cuban Minister of the Interior at the time and considered one of the heroes of the Cuban Revolution. He's the revolution's top intel guy. So they're sitting there having lunch, and Frank Holder, who is gay, comes walking into the cafe arm in arm with Philip Agee, a former CIA case officer who wrote the book Inside the Company, CIA Diary, and later died in Cuba. Our source wasn't surprised to see Agee, who he knew was a Cuban asset, but he was surprised to see him with Frank Holder. Seeing the source's alarm, Abelardo Colome Ibarra nodded towards Frank Holder and said, "He's our guy. We recruited a dozen guys like him."
Okay. So can I say something?
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
Frank Agee is one of the heroes. The CIA hates him.
Okay.
Frank Agee, or Philip Agee, is the guy. He was a whistleblower. He's the one that was in Chile during the overthrow of Salvador Allende. He was so disgusted with what the CIA did, the killing of the army general down there, the trying to kill another army general over in Italy, that he left the CIA because of all of their nefarious shit. They despise this man, despise him. So what he did, and he was literally had his citizen. He's an American citizen. He had his citizenship taken away from him and expelled from the country because he started naming names and telling the American people what the CIA was up to in the overthrowing of these governments. And he went to Europe. He went to like Italy, to Spain, they kept expelling him from their countries. And the only country he was ever allowed to live in peace in was Cuba. He is not a Cuban spy. He never was a Cuban spy. He had nothing to do with Cuba except for the fact it was the only place he was allowed to live. He continued to expose CIA operations from his location in Cuba. He's the one that come up with the website Covert Magazine. Philip Agee is the one that wrote that, established that entity, and his son runs it today. And it exposes all of the nefarious shit of the CIA. So this entire
Holder
here is bullshit.
Well, I mean, maybe Holder was trying to, did he have something to do with his death in Cuba? Because
listen to this.
Hang on a second. The people writing this book, so Pizzullo is writing this book, arguably CIA, but Bernstein is admitted CIA, right? And it's his anecdote. It's his fifth-hand anecdote that we've gotten in this. They would know that he was actually a good guy CIA, right? Like a defector who left and tried to expose what was going on. That's what I would call a good guy CIA, somebody that's fighting for actually the American people.
Because you're not allowed to stay in the CIA if you're actually a good guy.
Right. Right. So they would know the truth about him, right?
Yes. They hate him because they know the truth. And what I find interesting is the very first line. And you have to understand when CIA talks, how they talk. We literally had a source in Havana in like 2004 or 5 time period. Okay, so again, you want to talk about 5 orders of effect? Now you just added a 6th. This is from a source in Cuba. Who is our sources in Cuba? The Cuban exile community that launder all of the information into being whatever it is that the CIA will pay for.
Yeah.
I'm still shocked that they put this in there. I mean, Holder and Agee, if he is a good guy, which Colonel implies that he is, that's kind of strange. Because they're trying to imply here that Holder's a triple agent bad guy. He's the ringleader of all of this.
And so it's Agee, is that how you say it?
Yeah, Agee.
Okay. So he is, first of all, he's dead, right? So he can't defend himself. He can't come out and say his son potentially could file some sort of defamation claim, but that's probably not worth the effort, and he'd have his life destroyed by the people, right? Like there's
Correct.
a cost benefit calculation you do there. So he's dead, so he can't defend himself. And it's sort of a throwaway comment, right? Like, oh, well, he wasn't surprised to see him. He was a known Cuban asset. And then we move on to this Frank Holder guy is like a triple agent. He's super duper bad. Is it wrong for me to now like think, okay, maybe Frank Holder isn't that bad?
Again, not having read this, I can tell you that this entire thing is a framing job.
Mm-hmm. We're being told a story.
We're being told a story, not the story.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to smear Philip Agee, which they do every opportunity they get because they despise him.
And they're attributing this source to, well, they're attaching him to the guy. They're attaching Holder to the guy that everybody in the CIA hates.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, Ash, pick it back up.
The next thing that I have is Martin confirmed Frank Holder became a principal Cuban agent and has built a business empire, partnered with the Cubans and the Venezuelans, and was recruited by the U.S. government and run probably by the CIA out of NR Miami. NR stands for the National Resources Division, which is the domestic division of the CIA. I didn't know there was one.
How can we have a domestic division of the CIA?
We have a lot of them. They're all over the country.
We're not supposed to.
No, we're not.
That's just
like
it's
lawful, right? It's they've established it through some sort of legislation that they never told us about, and closed committee hearings and shit, and probably made it so on paper what they're doing is legal.
That's
I don't know, but I would imagine that's what they do.
That's just like the article I read this morning from our beloved Natasha Bertrand saying that the CIA bombed the port in Venezuela. And I thought it was fascinating that the CIA used the drone to make an attack, a military style attack, and their intelligence, which the CIA is supposed to gather, came from U.S. Special Operations Forces, the military on the ground. So the military is getting intelligence and feeding it to the intelligence who are taking military action. What the fuck?
That's exactly what my response was to that post. I saw that post as well. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? There's nothing about that post that makes any sense.
None.
I mean, they collaborate, but the CIA doesn't take military action based on the military's intelligence. That's exactly ass backwards.
100%.
So I think we should read. I don't actually have anything highlighted on the next 2 pages, but it's mostly excerpts from his website. So I think we should read it because I think it's really important. I personally have a bias towards thinking that this Holder guy is an absolute fucking bad guy scumbag because of his businesses. And the next 2 pages, scumbag's the wrong word. Corrupt. I have a bias to believe that he's corrupt because of what he's in. Right, what his hands are in and where he's at. I think we should read it and then let Colonel respond to it. Yeah,
go for it.
Go ahead. Okay. Holder was operating all over Latin America, in Argentina, and in Colombia. We could go on, said Gary. I could spend an hour or 2 on Frank Holder. Here's more from Holder's website. In 2005, he founded Holder International, which was acquired by FTI Consulting in 2007. Previously, he served as president of Kroll Inc.'s Consulting Services Group, responsible for operations in more than 35 countries, and was head of Kroll's Latin American and Caribbean region. Before joining Kroll, Dr. Holder was president of Holder Associates in Buenos Aires, Argentina, a risk mitigation and business intelligence firm. Later,
have you crossed Kroll?
No,
not on this show before, but yes.
Kroll is a CIA front.
Yeah,
every aspect of it is.
Figured.
Okay.
Later, Holder bought the Berkeley Research Group. FTI, Kroll, Holder International, and Berkeley Research Group are the top security, financial, and intelligence consulting groups in the United States. Their clients include the country's top law firms, banks, and corporations. This is how Kroll describes itself. Kroll provides clients a way to build, protect, and maximize value through our trusted expertise spanning risk, governance, transactions, and valuation. Our award-winning solutions and intelligence provide clients the foresight they need to create an enduring competitive advantage. One of Kroll's most infamous clients was Harvey Weinstein, who hired Kroll in 2015 to wipe evidence of sexual abuse from the electronic devices of Italian model Ambra Gutierrez as part of a settlement he reached with her. According to FTI's website, over the last 40 years, FTI Consulting has grown to become a market-leading global consulting firm that brings together distinct capabilities and experts to serve as the trusted advisor to clients when they are facing their greatest opportunities and challenges. I used to write this shit for a living. Each practice is a leader in its own right, staffed with experts recognized for the depth of their knowledge and a track record of making an impact. Collectively, FTI Consulting offers a comprehensive suite of services designed to assist clients across the business cycle, from proactive risk management to the ability to respond rapidly to unexpected crises and dynamic environments. I'll pause there before we read the next one.
This is a CIA cover your ass company.
So if you wanted to take over the world, you would need to make the people of the world believe that they had a reason to trust, right? You would need public trust. Public trust is incredibly important to, society generally, but also to the globalist system working. You need public trust. These types of entities, the audit firms, the due diligence firms, the forensic firms, these are the trusted authorities when there's any sort of breach, right? If there's Enron or Satyam in India or any of these, massive corruption scandals, you bring in the trusted authorities to tell you what happened and chart the path to the future. Public trust is everything. In independence training, we learned that the appearance of impropriety is as bad as actual impropriety because of its impact on public trust. So if you were going to take over the world, you would need to control the mechanisms that determine public trust. These are the entities that set the markets, that confirm, that attest to the valuation of the businesses, to the that attest to the veracity and comprehensiveness of the forensic evaluations that are done in the wake of things. And when you see things like Tim Waltz right now, right? He'll go and he'll hire an independent third party to come in and lay out what has happened, and mistakes were made on all sides, and we've learned our lessons, and we're implementing process changes and all of these things, because managing public trust is more important than the truth to these people. And that's really important, because to the people, public trust is the truth, right? We have public trust because we believe these people are upholding the truth, and they're gatekeeping enemies of the truth. And no, their product is public trust, whether you should trust it or not. All of the institutions,
public trust for the
Yes.
untrustworthy.
Yes.
Yes, and that's what Kroll does. And obviously,
Well,
that's
all of the whole industry, though. The whole industry.
well. I won't say the whole industry. I'm just going to talk about the ones I've researched personally. Kroll is 100% a CIA front. They are the people that go in and do all of the things that you just described. When the CIA's about to get exposed in a nefarious operation, Kroll magically appears on the scene. And they're just like Ashe and I've talked about this, not on this show, but it bears repeating since you just so well articulated. Price Waterhouse, in every single CIA front bank that I've researched, their auditor was Price Waterhouse. And every single one of them, within 30 to 60 days of them going under, costing people billions of dollars, they had just been audited by Price Waterhouse and given a gold sticker. Every one of them. And so it's just crazy because they use Price Waterhouse as the gold standard of the BCCI, Nugent Hand, Castle Bank, all of them. And that was their auditor of choice, because they knew that they would not ask the hard questions about the nefarious loans and all of the money laundering and all the other stuff. And every single one of them, it was a pattern that had hired them. The bank failed, and there you have it.
Yeah, and the public auditing is, from an enterprise company standpoint, largely 4 firms that you can choose from. One of them has American roots. The other 3 are 1800s British entities.
Yes.
And there's been a lot of consolidations and mergers and whatnot. But that is but when I say the whole industry, I mean the entire industry is intended to preserve public trust. They are all invested with each other,
Yes.
as well as with their clients, of preserving public trust. If the public stops trusting that, say, the markets are fair and not totally manipulated, right? Especially if your investors, like your business investors are starting to, your institutional investors are starting to question, right? And so much of the institutional investors are a part of the scam. So it's, it's hard to separate.
100%.
But when you get those cracks, you've got real problems. And it doesn't matter what the truth is. What matters is the story you can sell as the truth to the people to settle things down and stabilize and get public trust back in play. That's their number one. Not honor and integrity and doing business above board. Preserving the facade of public trust is their number one. And I think that's true across industries. But for the industries that are charged with preserving public trust, it's their number one.
And that's why I was so surprised when I first started digging into the CIA, how many PR people they hired as CIA agents for that exact reason.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. Those firms that are entrusted with public trust, they all have consulting arms. They all have the strategy through execution skill sets to, it's just That's what Sarbanes-Oxley was intended to resolve, that whole thing. It shifted things around on paper, didn't fucking solve anything. But you know what it did do? It allowed fishermen to get, lose everything because their fish shrank too much and they were 1 inch under the fucking measurement.
And J6ers.
Okay, so next, Berkeley Research Group calls itself a different kind of consulting firm, one that makes intelligence work by combining data analysis with the extensive sector experience. Every single fucking consulting firm says this, by the way. This is not distinctive. This is boilerplate shit. Creative perspectives with deep business acumen and big picture thinking with executable direction to help you stay ahead of what's next. Their clients include leading companies in the fields of finance, healthcare, construction, higher education, government contract, and telecom and media. How are all the industries corrupted? Well, the same people are doing due diligence for all of them.
Yeah.
Martin said, quote, with the money from Venezuela cartel, Holder bought 45% of FTI, but he always kept what he called the Latin American portfolio. So that was the perfect cover for him. Then he bought Berkeley Research Group. So together with Kroll, they had access to the 3 largest investigative companies who provide due diligence in the U.S. From Frank Holder's website, 2 more paragraphs and then I'll stop. Frank is an accomplished public speaker with numerous presentations throughout the world on topics such as money laundering, risk management, anti-corruption, security, and operational risk. He has written articles on similar topics for U.S. and Latin American newspapers and professional journals. He has taught courses and seminars at Georgetown, Thunderbird, Universidad Católica, Universidad del Salvador, UM, and FIU. He was on the advisory board of the Rand Corporation for 15 years. Before any major bank in the country takes on any new client, they hire FTI, Kroll, or Berkeley to do due diligence first. So who did due diligence for the investment groups and companies who were working for Venezuelan criminals? Martin asked. One of the companies either owned or run by Frank Holder.
So Rand is also a CIA front.
Of course. So just about, again, we're getting back to what we talked about in the beginning here, where this book is telling us that it's the Venezuelans stealing our elections and global elections, but there's a couple of rogue CIA agents that are doing it. And oh, by the way, one of those rogue CIA agents is running all of the consulting firms and PR firms that do all the work for every global corporation across the world. But he's just a totally rogue guy. It has nothing to do with the entirety of the CIA when you're talking about Kroll, FTI, and Berkeley Research Group.
And Rand. And let me just say that if this guy was not the bad CIA, they'd have taken him out a long time ago. Because Kroll, every one of those, FTI, Kroll, Berkeley, are all controlled. They're basically CIA fronts. Now, if you think the CIA is going to let a bad, in their words, a bad CIA guy control all their shit,
yeah,
never going to happen. What they're telling you is this guy is working for the bad CIA without telling you he's working for the bad CIA. They're trying to single him out and say, this is the one guy that's bad. Let's put him over here. When the entire time, decades that he's working in all of these entities, they're all CIA fronts. They just think you're too stupid to know that.
Yeah.
And if he was the one truly bad guy that is going to mess up all of the good guy CIA stuff, they would have taken him out a long time ago. He would have never been allowed to have all of these roles.
But doesn't the same apply to the people telling the stories in this book? If they're honorable former CIA agents that are now telling all of the secrets, how are they still walking around speaking things?
Like I said, I have a infamous saying I say all the time. You are not former CIA if they've not tried to kill you or you're in jail.
Yeah.
The fact that this book is even written tells you this is a CIA approved book.
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah. That's that. So
have been attempted assassination or his ass would be in jail.
Are there, Colonel Towner, are there like inside the CIA. I lost my place, damn it. Inside the CIA, right? Active CIA. Are there are there sides?
Yes.
Are there what?
Sides.
Factions.
Like so it's all bad.
Not at the upper level. So if you go into the CIA and you're an analyst, you are so compartmented on what you know and what you do. You can exist in that compartment for the next 15 years and not have any idea what this is going on. But if you invert the CIA and you say, this guy, like when Brennan was there, when Dulles was there, when Casey was there, he hires these 3 people. They're all bad.
And they're all on the same page.
100%.
Yeah.
Those 3 people hire these 20 people. They're all bad. Or they wouldn't get hired. So when you get down to the lower mid-level and below, you can have some honest people working there. They do not occupy any of these positions at all. They'll never be the station chief in a country. They will never be a station chief in a country you're going to destabilize. They will never be a station chief in a country that you're using narco networks in. They will never be in a country that you're about ready to overthrow because they're not in this network. They're all of these people. And just to drive that point home, there was a declassified cable that was written in before the coup in Guatemala in 1954, where one of the analysts on the ground in Guatemala was asked to assess whether or not there was any communist activity, because that's the way it was sold to the American people. Guatemala was full of communists. We've got to overthrow Arbenz, blah, blah, blah. His cable says there's no communication between Guatemala and the USSR. And yet, every newspaper in America, every CIA, anything was touting, we've got to overthrow Guatemala immediately. He's bought by the Soviet Union. And so that guy, if he ever came back later on and said, hey, here's this cable, they just tried to kill him. He would have never been promoted because he's not buying the party line.
Yeah, communist is the shining ball that they use to distract you while they do this, to justify what they do. Before we move on,
USSR today is its anniversary. The USSR was founded on this day in 1922.
Real quick before we move on, I just want to remind everybody that Frank Holder was being investigated and almost prosecuted by the DOJ and the DEA, and the CIA intervened and said this guy's good to go. So and he's money laundering and everything else, setting up the narco trafficking networks and all that stuff.
According to the book, you mean, right?
According to the book, yeah. So I'm just saying, when they tell you that it's the Venezuelans and it's nobody else, it's not. Okay, good.
Okay. Where was we?
The next thing I have highlighted is the middle of 64.
Okay, I have the top. Martin said, I actually asked former Minister of Finance of Venezuela, how are you able and capable of laundering $12 billion? And he answered, well, it's very simple. Frank Holder has done the due diligence for every shell company we have created around the world.
That's just an admission to how the CIA does it.
Yeah, due diligence, which sounds like it, at best is a rubber stamp.
And there's no due diligence to shell companies. It's the whole thing. Do you know what the definition of a shell company is? It doesn't fucking exist.
Due diligence should find that, though, no? The due diligence should find. You're the top due diligence experts in the nation, Roxanne. You are doing all of the due diligence. You would think that step one would be the company exists.
It does exist. It does exist.
It just doesn't. Right. It just doesn't do anything. It's just a pass.
It doesn't do anything. So on Alpha Warriors show, I just did the Robert Sensei thing where I traced from South Florida to Jacksonville to Houston, back to South Florida. Sensei and his wife, the guy that was just arrested for money laundering with the DEA guy that used to be in charge of finding money laundering that was bad, was doing the money laundering. His co-conspirator was Robert Sensei. And his wife had a residence in Florida that had 47 emails and like 27 phone lines associated with that address for shell companies. There's no due diligence. It was a house. That's the point I'm trying to make.
The point of due diligence is to identify money laundering and the fact that it's a shell company that's not real.
This is like a book written for retards. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right. The next thing I thought was really interesting was at the bottom of 64. It says Holder has a personal relationship with Steven Seagal and Vladimir Putin.
Well, you missed the part about
Now
Venezuela shell companies being approved by Citibank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, HSBC, and Credit Suisse. Do you know that every single one of them has been paid like billion-dollar fines for money laundering?
Has had to pay
every single one of them.
There's no JP Morgan on that list.
Them too.
All right, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, just I thought it was fascinating that it mentions he had a personal relationship with Steven Seagal and Vladimir Putin, because I'm not sure. I know Gordon and Bibi have kind of tied Seagal to Trump in some form or fashion. I can't remember exactly how, but I'm almost positive they had. And then of course Putin, them darn communists.
we gotta wipe him with Putin somehow.
Yeah. We gotta put Putin on him somehow. Gotta put Putin. The next thing I have,
we skipped over Frank Holder as a triple agent was basically blackmailing the U.S. government. He also developed a relationship between Venezuela and Serbia. Triple agent.
Garbage.
This story has always, and I haven't read the book, right? I've read up through this chapter that we're on. This story, I've told this to Brian, has always read to me like there is a group of people trying to get ahead of a story so that they can maybe not go to prison.
Yes.
That's how it reads to me. This whole thing, the whole blitz of the media and the I'm CIA now and all of the things.
So here's all of the things that the CIA did in interfering in our election. Let's pin this one on this guy, this one on this guy, this one on this guy, this one on this one, this one on this one.
Wrap it up in a bow. All the bad guys were fired. We can trust the CIA now.
Correct.
Yeah.
The next thing I have is on page 65 with Lord Malik Brown.
Yeah, I have that too. Read the excerpt.
The excerpt says, you mean below that paragraph?
So this is Lord Malik Brown, former UK Minister, Deputy UN Secretary General, Chairman of Smartmatic, and current president of George Soros's Open Society Foundations, wrote, now read the excerpt.
Most books about business ethics are simply from the sidelines, exhortations to do good and avoid evil.
He's British, so I'm going to need you to do a British accent.
I'm not doing a British accent. But integrity in business provides a holistic and practical approach. Holder provides an acute analysis of the differences in business practices and regulatory environments across markets, a useful primer for any executive and company that produces or sells in our increasingly globalized world. He explains why attempts to legislate ethical behavior have failed and will fail to stop fraud and corruption.
That's such a great sentence. Attempts to legislate ethical behavior have failed and will fail to stop.
Just stop bothering. Stop trying.
Don't bother anymore. Yeah, just let us do whatever the fuck we want.
So you see two things going on at the same time. Obviously, Holder's one of them. And Lord Malik Brown writes some nice things about him. Now they're trying to put him out on this island to deflect all of the blame onto him. And they're countering all of these things that their own operatives, of which Lord Malik Brown is one of them because he's intimately involved in Smartmatic, look at him say these nice things about him. And let's put him under George Soros so that we know that
attached. Attached to George Soros now.
Yeah. So he has to be bad.
Yeah, he's got to be bad, right? He's
literally one of you. So
And
you're
we're
actually
telling you
story.
about him, so we're good.
Yeah. Okay.
The whistleblower's been chasing them for years. This is on page 66. They learned that he keeps his money in bank accounts in Tel Aviv, has 2 boyfriends, one who's a mambo dancer and are residents of the Israeli capital.
You skipped over on the page before. He calls Frank Holder an octopus, and we talked about this last week. He called somebody else an octopus too.
Why is that? Do you know why that is?
No, he called one of the Venezuelan or Bolivian or Argentine South American person.
When you cut off a tentacle, it grows back.
They call it, they use the word octopus because of Danny Casalleros. That's what Danny Casalero called the CIA and all of the shit that he was unholding. It's the octopus. So they are literally transferring all of the shit that they've done to these other people.
Was it Danny that they called the octopus in the last?
No, Danny called this network of the CIA the octopus with the promise.
No, I mean, in this book, they called somebody else an octopus. We read it last week, and I said, I thought Frank Holder was the octopus. And Brian was like, no, it's the Spanish name guy. And
but they are using that word on purpose.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. That's cool.
Yeah, that's what Danny Casalero called the entire network that he was uncovering, which I don't know whether he knew or not was the CIA and the entire intelligence apparatus around the world, the one world government, all of that stuff. That's
so it's
why
projection is what you're saying. They're projecting octopus because it's what they are and it's what they've been called.
Yes.
Got it.
Okay.
All right. I can't find it. Anyway, go ahead, Brian.
Okay, so he's got 2 boyfriends in Tel Aviv, the mambo dancer, and I don't know what the other one does. The CIA was using Holder for lots of things because of his unique access. He played a key role in the Obama administration's reconciliation with Cuba, and he helped arrange Obama's visit to Havana in March of 2016. Quote, whenever anyone in the NSC or CIA wanted to know what was going on in Cuba or Venezuela, Gary added, they asked Frank Holder. They considered him their inside expert, but they didn't realize how inside he really was. He was continually misleading them, and the CIA and White House didn't have a clue. When Martin was working for the DEA and building cases for the DOJ, he recruited a whole series of cabinet officers and generals who had previously worked for the Chavez regime. Some of them were put into federal witness protection programs. The testimony they provided led to the indictments of President Nicolas Maduro, Diosdado Caballo, and 70 other people. I wonder if that's the case that no, that's not the case Gordon talks about, because Maduro filed that case, the lawsuit that was on his behalf. So never mind.
So and then it goes on to say that Martin asks, when he was working for the DEA and building the cases, every time he rolled somebody up, he asked them, how are you able to move billions of dollars into the US? How are you able to get so much money into our financial system undetected? Super cop Frank Holder. So he's the Lee Harvey Oswald of Venezuelan money laundering.
Yeah. That's garbage.
It's just one guy.
If you understand,
he's laundering money in a book depository, and it's fine.
Yeah. If you understand the network that it requires to money launder that amount of money, that's not one guy.
Yeah.
There's hundreds and hundreds.
And this one guy that we're talking about, he gets his own chapter, right? They even say that at the end of chapter 3. Frank Holder deserves his own chapter. He gets his own chapter. He's still walking around free, right? Yeah, walking around, breathing air, doing all the due diligence on all the companies and all the deals and all the shell companies and everything.
His website's still up.
Yeah. You would think there would be making these kinds of allegations, if they weren't true, would come with defamation litigation, especially for a guy this high up with this amount of resources. If what they're saying isn't true about him, you would think that he would fight it. But like you said, Colonel, it's the fact that the book is being published by former CIA people anyway, it implies that the CIA is okay with the book and the story being told. So is the CIA about to, out? Are we gonna scapegoat Frank Holder for the entire portfolio of sins?
They're definitely trying to.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing that's really interesting about this is at the bottom of 66, it says his fingerprints are on everything. When Gary and Martine went to the Trump campaign after the 2020 election and told them that the election had been stolen, who did they hire to do the investigation? Frank Holder and Berkeley Research Group. So you're telling me Martine and Gary Bernstein, the CIA chief officer, station chief in Bolivia, and the DEA guy that was going after Frank Holder saw President Trump hire Berkeley Research Group, and none of them were like, hey, hello, what are you doing hiring this guy? We were just investigating him. Look at your DOJ. Look at your DEA. We were just trying to convict this guy on money laundering and drug trafficking, and you just put him into the middle of the election fraud.
This is the same exact thing that happened when they first became acquainted with election fraud in the 2010, 11, 12 time frame. There were groups of people talking about these companies and Venezuelan source code, and the story we're told in the book is that they became aware of all of this corruption in our elections and the ability to rig elections, and so they decided to do their investigation. Right? They decided to dedicate their lives to do an investigation, but not engage and talk to the people who were openly saying, hang on, we shouldn't be having Smartmatic come in because there's Venezuelan roots here and this is a problem. And there were definitely people in the US that were sounding that alarm in the exact same time frame. They didn't say anything. They let it happen and then did their investigation. I think we could change investigation to operation, because this is all an intelligence operation. And now they're telling us about it. And sounds like they're trying to stay out of prison. I agree with you. Have we ever heard that Gary Bernstein and Martin Rodil went to the Trump campaign after the 2020? No, I'm saying outside of the story we're being told, Brian. Did we ever know anything about that? No, I didn't think so.
So I think it's worth it to read this whole page because it kind of outlines so is it any wonder why BRG found no evidence of fraud? According to BRG's Project 2020 report commissioned by the Trump campaign, they found, quote, there was no reason to believe the final vote totals in 5 key states were fraudulent. The Washington Post, which got a leaked copy of the report because of course they did, declared that it undercut or disproved the Trump campaign's fraud allegations. The WAPO also boasted that the Trump campaign buried the report's results and the findings were, quote, a source of frustration for Trump's advisors. A December 2020 meeting with the Berkeley team and Trump's team, which Trump was present at, they said, quote unquote, grew tense. BRG looked at literally anything you could think of. A source told the Washington Post, voter turnout anomalies, date of birth anomalies, whether dead people voted, if there was anything under the sun that could be thought of, they looked at it, the source said. Frank Holder also used his influence inside the U.S. government to convince Homeland Security that Martine was working for the Cubans and trying to blackmail Venezuelans who had previously worked in the Chavez Maduro regime. The CIA finally ended their relationship with Frank Holder 18 months ago when Martine and Gary went to them with the evidence they had collected in a very large whistleblower case known as their omnibus case. Jeez. In it, they proved that Holder was one of the principal players in laundering $50 billion for the cartel. In a Washington, D.C. area hotel, the whistleblower met with 2 CIA officers, one a senior level officer and the other a mid-level, for several hours. They didn't want to hear that one of CIA's Latin division prized assets had been betraying them and had done enormous damage to the United States.
So they kept the guy in place. This doesn't make sense either. Like, yeah, okay, don't let the public know, right? Don't even let the Congress know, right? But we're talking about the Republic. We're talking about, right? Oh my gosh, one of our prized Latin American assets is compromised and an enemy of the United States. That's super embarrassing. So we're going to leave him in place? No, I mean, I would think they'd off him or they'd, move him out quietly, move him to a prison. He should end up in prison. He's a fucking spy, according to the story we're being told. And they went and told everybody that he was a spy. And it was too embarrassing to admit that he was a spy. So they left him in place. What the fuck is this?
It's garbage. And let me the way I read this is that someone in the Trump orbit told him to use Frank Holder and Berkeley Research Group because he's CIA.
Yeah.
The bad guys. So they go out and pretend to do an investigation and come back to tell Trump that there's no election fraud. That he has no grounds to make any of those assertions because the CIA is the election fraud.
Yeah.
So they've got their guy telling supposedly the Trump administration that they found nothing. And in finding nothing, the CIA leaks to the Washington Post the report that they just commissioned through their cutout, Frank Holder, in the Berkeley Research Group to tell Trump. And that's why the meeting got heated, is because Trump knows that the guy standing in front of him is blowing smoke up his ass.
Yep.
That's what I just read.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's just read out the rest of this because it's pretty good. Holder had helped them recruit a dozen individuals over the decades. All of them, they were now discovering, were double agents. Holder, over the years, had provided the CIA with intelligence reporting on key countries that had been fed into all the products of CIA's Director of Intelligence, including National Intelligence Estimates, the National Intelligence Daily, or NED. NED, it only means one thing, and that's National Endowment for Democracy. And presidential daily briefings, or PDBs. Gary hammered them on the fact that the CIA had done no ops testing on Holder or agent validation. He handed them 100 pages of evidence and told them that Frank Holder, the Venezuelans, and Cubans had used them. Shame on you, he said. The fact that the Cubans and Venezuelans had used a U.S. citizen working closely with the CIA as a weapon against our democracy is awful beyond belief. The DOJ and FBI have since opened a case on Frank Holder for money laundering. The problem for U.S. government is that a public trial of Holder will be tremendously embarrassing for the CIA, Homeland Security, and the DOJ. No, the Homeland Security and DOJ should be like, fuck that. We had him and the CIA told us no. Screw that.
This can't be seriously embarrassed. Yes, being rolled up, having your principals prosecuted and locked away forever or worse, and having your entity shut down would be very embarrassing. But I think that's low on the list of impacts.
Yeah. You finish out.
Nevertheless, said Gary, their mistakes need to be exposed and the country properly protected as we go forward. Frank Holder is the biggest traitor to our country in the modern era. He's the Lee Harvey Oswald of traitors. In the course, that doesn't say that, I added that. In the course of their investigation, the whistleblowers have identified other traitors like Roca and Holder, Cuban assets who were helping Venezuelans. One of them held positions at the highest level of Latin American policy at the State Department and NSC for years. More names will be revealed as the investigation continues. So we have two big bads. Well, we have one big bad, according to this story, and that is Cuba. And they've roped in places like Venezuela. And CIA is trying to fight them, guys, as best they can. Problem is that all their agents end up going to work for the Cubans.
Yeah, they're all rogue. Darn.
Isn't it weird that the CIA has been trying to overthrow the Cuban government for, the last 50 years? And the bad guys in this story are the two countries that they've tried to overthrow multiple times and can't.
Yeah.
I think that's way too convenient, number one. And they make this guy involved in both of those two. I think that's way too convenient. And you have a really, and also I love the fact that they try to slough it off as the CIA always. They just screwed up.
Always, yeah. Whoops.
We spend billions of dollars on intelligence, and what we get is we screwed up.
Yeah. 9/11. Whoops.
Everything.
USS Liberty. Whoops.
Yeah. It's everything. It's everything. We're incompetent. So why the hell are we paying you? If you can have a spy working within your organization for decades, and you just find out when you need a scapegoat that he was this alleged spy, that you want to offer up on a silver platter that's entire career is nothing but front companies for the CIA? Yeah, not buying it.
Wait till you get into next chapter. It's going to get really spicy.
Okay.
So I thought about this while you were talking about Cuba, and I hadn't ever thought of it in this way before. Is Cuba regionally similar to like a Ukraine or a Taiwan in terms of like proxy state kind of?
So that's a very interesting question. And I'm open-ended on Cuba, because what you find out when you go back to the Cuban Revolution, of course, we installed Batista. He was a revolution in and of itself. We overthrew the Cuban government. They had a constitution. We overthrew their government and installed Batista, who facilitated the CIA using Cuba as a heroin processing. You find all of the elites, William Pauly.
For democracy. It's heroin processing for democracy.
All of these people were there during the Batista. There were this, elite. This is the same thing throughout all of Latin America when we installed our governments there. They established this elite group. Everybody else are cleaning toilets for the mafia, for the CIA. They're running the country. They buy up all the sugar plantations. William Pauly owned the airline, the bus line, and a whole bunch of sugar plantations. William Pauly's the same guy that set up Sea Supply and the Flying Tigers for Chiang Kai-shek over in Taiwan. So it's funny that you mentioned that. A lot of the same players coalesce around Cuba. Okay, so Batista's bad. All of the people hate him. So the CIA both funded and supplied weapons to both the revolution of Castro, Che Guevara, and Raul Castro, and to Batista to put down the revolution. So they're going to come in on both sides, as they always do. And if Castro wins, they feel like they can co-opt him. They obviously were wrong. They couldn't co-opt him, and they eventually get kicked out of the country. But here's where I'm open-minded. Conveniently enough, when we did our exploration of Latin America and the overthrow of all the governments, do you know what the justification every single time was?
Communism.
We can't have another Cuba. We can't have another Cuba. We can't have another Cuba. Cuba became very convenient for the CIA and the oligarchs running the CIA. When they wanted to overthrow a government in Latin America, their excuse was, we can't have another Cuba. So for the last, 50 years, everything that we have done dominantly in destabilizing in Latin America and South America has always been because we can't have another Cuba. So the one thing that was most interesting to me is, according to most people, over 400 times, supposedly, we tried to overthrow Cuba. Over 400 times, either with, laced arsenic pills or the fake pen, or, there was like a million of them. So the one country that we could never overthrow is 90 miles off of our coast.
Yeah.
And we overthrew over 90 other ones around the world, but we can't get that one.
Yeah.
It's just a weird phenomenon. So I can make an argument that it was a real revolution, and it wasn't just convenient for the CIA to have him sitting there this entire time. And they really are that inept. But I can also make an argument that it was very convenient for the oligarchs and the CIA to have him sitting there all of this time.
Did you, Colonel, did you get it? I don't know if you power read through the whole book or if you just read the chapter 4 there.
Just chapter 4.
Okay. All right. So maybe next week's going to be intense. There's because we get into the globalists, the CIA, all of it is going to come in next week's chapter. So if you get a chance to, read the first 3 and kind of get the background.
Oh, you're going to have so much to say about the first couple chapters. I mean, all of it, I'm sure. But when they go through like the backstory and laying the region, like explaining the region, South and Latin and South American region and everything from the perspective of this book, I can't wait. So we should plan that, Brian. Just do chapter 5 next week and have the first part of the show, Colonel, tell us what she thinks about chapters 1 through 3. We don't have any Rumble rants, but we did have a Badlands boost from Whiskey Girl and Fat Chance. Merry Christmas to you both. Soldier on. All our love and support. It was $100. Thank you guys so much. You guys are the best.
I think, Merry Ash, Christmas. I think I'm going to redo the background for this show and just add a little disclaimer or notation somewhere that we are now naming the room that is in the image on the background the Hanoi Hilton.
I've actually been there.
Oh, I have not.
Me neither.
I've been to Saigon, but I've never been to Hanoi.
But apparently Ash and I are the Hanoi Hilton.
Yeah, did you see that, Colonel Patrick? So somebody in a chat at like 2 in the morning.
Hold on. I'll pull it up. Hold on.
So okay. Wow.
Because you gotta read it to see the pretzel that this puts, goes through here.
Sorry, buddy, I don't know who you are.
Okay, so here it is. Present, share screen. All right, so it starts out here with oh, I got to go to the main post. So somebody had said we've got this ongoing situation here.
In more.
Oh, people are telling me here that CannCon, I know some things can't be revealed until the right time. Did X not do the right thing coming out about Hillary and what he knows?
Why
he has not put
his name. Is he Voldemort or something? Is he like cast a spell on us?
I don't know. Anyways, I wrote back and I said, we'll never know because he ducked the only show that would ask tough questions as our intro was rolling after confirming 4 times previously, including 5 minutes before we went live. And he writes back, fellow, I hate to hurt your feelings, but I don't know who you are and I don't duck anything. My life shifts between intense action and complete exhaustion. Often my calendar suffers. Sounds like your vagina is still hurting. So book another time and I'll come on. Ground rules, ? And I said, your assistant confirmed with us literally 5 minutes before we went live, asking for a link. So which is it? You don't know who I am and you don't duck anything, or Hanoi Hilton. And that's in response to this right here that he said earlier, where somebody said, still think you should go
into it so it shows my response because I enjoyed my response.
This is a screenshot. I would never repost him.
Oh, son of a.
So you could pull that up, but I'll read this. Still think you should do the interview with Ash as you promised. Be that guy you pretend to be. Some of us lurk for a long time. And he wrote back. Now, this is before he said, I don't duck anything. I just don't know who you are. He said, okay, but you guys have to understand that that's like being asked to go back and give an interview about the years you spent in the Hanoi Hilton. I guess I am avoiding it, aren't I? But he doesn't duck anything. Totally doesn't duck anything.
Yeah. I can't find it. But what I said was, okay, we can roll with it. Are you Jane Fonda or John McCain?
Oh, I saw that.
And his response was, I'm Stockdale. So,
which is garbage.
Yeah, that's pure garbage.
Everybody thinks they're Stockdale.
Yeah. Where's your Medal of Honor?
I would never pretend to be Stockdale.
Well, it's quite the story. It is quite the the hero's journey story.
Well, that's how he sees himself.
Yeah.
I would never see myself as that. I don't know that I would ever have the courage to be a Stockdale. I'd like to think I do, but I would never say that. That is one of the most disgusting things that somebody that's lived the life that he's lived could ever say.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find.
Stockdale died of suicide, correct?
Suicide, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the little excerpt that John had where it explains what Stockdale means, what it can also mean.
Oh, like leader.
Here it is.
Here it is. And leadership and stuff.
The Stockdale paradox. James C. Collins related a conversation he had with James Stockdale regarding his coping strategy during his period in the Vietnamese POW camp. When Collins asked which prisoner didn't make it out of Vietnam, Stockdale replied, "Oh, that's easy, the optimist. Oh, they were the ones who said, we're going to be out of here by Christmas." And Christmas would come and Christmas would go. Then they'd say, we're going to be out of here by Easter. And Easter would come and Easter would go. And then Thanksgiving. And then it would be Christmas again. And they died of a broken heart. This is a very important lesson. You must never confuse faith that you will prevail in the end, which you can never afford to lose, with the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of our current reality, whatever they might be. Collins called this the Stockdale paradox.
Mm-hmm.
And in the context of elections, that is fascinating.
Yeah. Having walked through the Hanoi Hilton, and personally knowing someone that was there for 5.5 years, and considered him a friend, um, to me, any connotation of, because Stockdale was viewed by their fellow POWs as a hero, somebody to emulate, an amazing, amazing man. Um, there's much of the wing of the Hanoi Hilton is still there for people to visit. The beds are that they tortured the people on. The chains are still there. The handcuffs. They're, for someone like you, CannCon, you would have about a foot hanging off your feet as well as your head. It is one of, other than the killing fields in Cambodia, it was one of the most emotional things that has ever happened to me in my military career, is walking through that installation. I did not know at the time, the general, as well, as I ended up knowing him when I went on that trip, but it's something that will never leave you. And I have no idea how any of those people made it out alive, except for maybe John McCain, because he was a
Don't
traitor.
you sort of think that anybody that is a Stockdale would never claim to be a Stockdale?
Never. That's why I said I found it the most disgusting thing ever, because there's not a single one of us, no matter what training you've ever been through, that you would ever know how you would react to being in those conditions for 5.5 years. I don't know that most of us would have ever made it out. And I know it changed my friend for the rest of his life. And
comparing it to like
the life of a CEO of a company and all that, it's just
Yeah.
disgusting to me.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
All right. Well, I do have
I find that whole entire thing tiresome, by the way. I when Brian was having that back and forth, I dropped in to confirm. Yes, he knew who Brian was. He asked me a whole bunch of questions about the show and the network, and how many views we get and what's our story and all that. And I told him all of that. He knew exactly who Brian was. And then the person that was that AZ lady, she comes back and she's like, "What, does he owe you anything?" Nope, not at all. But also, this is bullshit, and I'm done. I'm getting off.
What happened, Brian, right before your show?
He just no-showed.
I know, but do you remember the post that you responded to when I posted the real truth about?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't know this. What happened? What'd you do to make Bern not show up?
Like literally an hour.
What'd you do? Oh, you left this part out of the story.
That happened that same day.
I don't know if I have the post.
And he didn't not just not show up. He had his assistant say, "He'll be right there," and get the link from me. And then as the intro was playing, say, "Oh, he has a conflict." And then he DM'd me and said, "I'm sorry,
well,
I
did a long post about the whole Venezuela thing and how everything that they were saying was a lie." And Brian responded to it.
Yeah. Well, so it's Brian's fault.
Yeah,
he doesn't know who you are.
I said right after that, I was like, it's probably, I don't remember exactly what the post was, but I responded and I texted Colonel and I was like, he'll probably see this and not come on because of this. And you know what? I don't care. I don't care.
I don't care either, because so here's the thing, right? I went back and reread those how DJT lost the White House posts. I watched the Deep Rig. I watched his interviews. I reread the Capital Times magazine thing, because I have questions about this current Venezuelan story and how it, foots with the story that he's been telling us for years, because it doesn't, in my opinion. His backstory, his persona is that he was only willing to work with the government if we were pursuing peace. Well, now he's screaming for fucking war in Venezuela. I wanted to ask him about that, but the net effects of this whole thing. So he didn't show up, right? A couple days later, I'm CIA. The net effects of him being CIA now is he just gets to say, "Oh, I was fibbing before." And
Yep.
he has said that. He said that to Emerald on Emerald's show, right? You know, that stuff I told and like in the previous tellings of my story. Well, I was fibbing because, you know, I'm CIA now, but I'm super duper good guy CIA, and I'm totally going to tell you the truth now. If I come on your show and tell you a story, no, eat a dick, man. If you are CIA, you're fucking burned, and you look like you're floundering. And you know, I hope you
Looks like
can
shit.
get some. Yeah, now he's
a new hoodie.
allegedly very sick, right? We're
Oh,
told that he's dying. That was part of the Reawaken tour thing, was that his health is so terrible. He's coming out with the truth now because he's dying. And so he, you know, we're going to tell the truth about the things. Only that story was like 2023, and that wasn't the truth. That was a story that we were told in 2023, and you know, 2 years plus later, we're being told, "Oh, I was fibbing because I'm actually CIA." I don't. There's probably no way I would ever believe anything this guy says, and I can tell you what I'm not going to do: cheer for fucking war with Venezuela. I'm not going to throw out our entire, you know, what we've tried. America first. Let's end the wars. Let's stop allowing the intelligence community and the military industrial complex to, you know, keep using us as a battery, basically, for whatever the fuck they want to do. Like, let's stop this. And now we're going to open up a new theater of it. No.
Yes.
No, I'm done. And I don't like, we're reading the book and we'll finish the book, but I'm not platforming this nonsense. We know that Venezuela, that Dominion voting system source code is derived from Venezuela. We're being told that Nicolas Maduro has his finger on the button of fucking US elections and he's picking the winners and losers. That's stupid. That's real fucking stupid. And the level of obstruction that we've seen in the United States of America to prevent the truth about elections from coming out tells you that it is Americans. It is Americans that are trying to reframe this story and tell us a new tale and point the finger at some foreign nation so that we don't roll up the Americans who actually sold out the country. And the answer is no. We're not doing that. We are going to roll up the Americans, and there must be accountability.
Exactly.
I'm done.
Okay. On that note, we are still confirmed for Friday with Stephen Richer, former Maricopa County recorder. I spoke with him today, and that
Brian
show
is fully on this rug. I'm not on this rug, but
that show is a go.
I'll have a backup show planned.
That show is a go for Friday, so I will be looking forward to that. So tune into Why We Vote, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Zach rated us as we're closing out again. So we will.
Hey guys, we're gonna send you over to what show's next? Oh, Brad and Abby Live. We're gonna send you over to Brad and Abby Live, but before we do, please hit the thumb for us. If you just came in from Redfield 78, that'd be awesome. We would really appreciate it if you just hit it. You should also come back and watch this show because it was really good.
Yes, Colonel, where can people find you online?
On X at Colonel Towner.
All right, there we go. And thank you so much, Colonel, for joining us. And I'm looking
so excited that you're going to finish the book with us.
Yeah. All right, we will see you guys. Oh, target stream cannot be the current stream. What?
You just selected yourself.
I probably did.
Do you want me to do it? I can do it. You end the show and I'll do it.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up on this video. And a special thank you to all of our advertising partners. Please remember to shift your dollars to support those businesses that support Badlands Media.